welcome to a new series.
New series, yeah.
New series. This is a different series. You may have never experienced a series like this. Carl and I have never experienced
This could
a
be different,
series
yeah.
like this. This is a 3-week series on Lamentations.
Okay.
So, Carl, tell us a little bit about that.
So, I don't know, do we even know what a lament is? Do we just think that's whining and complaining? As a start here, I'm going to just read, I was going to read from Psalms, but it's not on Psalms anymore. Oh, shoot. Okay, Psalm 13. So this is from King David. So if you know anything about him, he writes a lot of Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
And here he starts out, Lord, how long will you forget me? Forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long will I store up anxious concerns within me, agony in my mind every day? How long will my enemy dominate me?
Hmm.
David, who obviously has a lot of faith in God and has a good relationship with God, and yet he still runs through times where he's just crying out to God. And so I think about a lament as crying out to God, just bearing your soul and just saying, I don't understand what's going on and I don't know if I can take it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is what, like, those times in life where it doesn't feel like there's any hope, or it doesn't feel like God is hearing your prayers or is near to you. I mean, that's where these laments come into play, of where we bear everything before God and we're vulnerable with God, because that's what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants us to be vulnerable with him. Not that he doesn't already know what's going on inside of us, but he wants us to bear that to him, just like David did.
Yeah, I think God, he does know everything, but he wants me to say it out loud. Whether that's a praise, an adoration, a concern, a lament. I mean, that is important to God. So as we look at we're going to look at 3 chapters in the book of Lamentations.
Yep. And we've got 3 different people that are preaching. So we wanted the congregation and the community to hear 3 different voices on this. Because every person experiences tough times differently. And so we wanted to have 3 different voices on this. So this first week we've got, who do we have preaching?
Dennis Berkey.
And then second week
I'll
do the second. That's me.
I got the third week.
And then Carl's got the third week.
Okay.
I would say best for last, but I'm just
okay. Best in the middle. That's an Oreo. Okay. So we're doing that, and Lamentations. It might be a hard book for people to find. It's short. It's only 5 chapters, and they're I guess a couple of chapters do appear kind of long, like 66 verses, I think, for chapter 3. But at the same time, it's short book. You're going to find it like right after. There's a whole prophet section where you've got Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. Well, it's right after Jeremiah.
Yep. Right.
So
in between Jeremiah and Ezekiel is where it's at in there. And like Carl said, it is a shorter book. So this first week, Dennis is going to be looking at chapter 3. And there are 66 verses in this chapter. And he has picked some passages within that, and we'll be working through those passages. And make sure to stay tuned till the end of the video here, because we'll outline just what passages he's going to be focusing on so that you can read those ahead of time and prepare.
Yeah. So chapter 3 has some of the same crying out to God for sure. There's definitely some crying out to God. And I should probably even say this. There's a part here where it's like, God has driven me away. He's made me walk in darkness. He's made my skin and flesh. Well, the reason that whoever wrote this, and some scholars think it's Jeremiah, whoever wrote this is saying this is because Israel as a nation, so this is actually the southern kingdom, it's Judah, they have just seen Jerusalem fall by the Babylonians. They've conquered the land. They've invaded. They're trashing Jerusalem. They're taking people captive and exiled to Babylon.
Yeah.
And so God has caused this because this is God's punishment on the people for not paying attention to who He is and paying attention to His commandments.
So disobedience.
The disobedience. Leviticus, and I think it's Leviticus 26. First part of that chapter is all about, if you follow me, here's all the good things. And then the last part of the chapter is, and if you don't follow me, here's all the bad things that are going to happen. Which generally that's been sword and famine and pestilence, and that kind of stuff. Well, this is the sword part. So you got an invading nation. So you've got verses like that. But then later there are some other verses that appear a lot different than that.
Yeah. So this chapter specifically here, there is talk of God's mercy and the hope that comes with that, and a promise of unfailing love. And so the author here, whether it's Jeremiah or someone else, is recognizing that even though it's in the midst of probably the hardest time of these people's lives, there is hope in the midst of it in God.
And yet the hope, I think sometimes the author's calling out, does it have to be this way right now? In God's timing, this happens, and it stays this way for a while. It's generations, a couple generations at least later, that God fulfills that promise, and people are able to return back to the land and that kind of stuff. As the author, Jeremiah or whoever, is looking at this, he's just recognizing, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. It's recognizing we have our part to do also in this, but it's really God who's going to decide when the redemption, when the return, when the reconciliation can actually happen, as far as getting back to the land, governing our own selves and things like that. I think some people live in this now, to today, just that lamenting, crying out to God. And I think for other people, they don't think about that as much. And then sometimes, like, this was caused by their own disobedience, but sometimes bad things happen in life, and it's not caused by anything that I did personally, you did personally, but it's just life, and it's the imperfect, living in an imperfect world, and some of those things happen. But this this chapter in particular, it's got, these are the horrible things, and yet here's some hope, just recognizing where that's at. And so I guess I would say for everybody, if you want to read through Lamentations 3, that'd prepare you for Sunday. But then just also you can look at your own life and just think, so what are the things? Am I comfortable crying out to God about things that I feel are unfair, or do I suppress that? And the scriptures would tell us it's okay to cry out to God. He can handle that. Recognize He is God. Some things may change later. They may not change now. I mean, we don't have control over some of those things.
Yeah, and that's very, very true. So this is going to be an interesting journey for us as a congregation to look at how do we go through times of hopelessness and find that hope in Jesus, find that joy with God that's been our theme for the year in the midst of a really hard time. So we're excited for what Dennis has for us, how God's going to speak through him on Sunday, and we hope to see you there.
Okay.